Hey everyone, Jacob here. In this episode, we had some audio issues while recording, so you might notice some occasional clipping or things like that, particularly with Owen's audio towards the beginning. I just wanted to let you know that we know, and we'll hopefully be able to minimize that next week. Regardless, we had a really great conversation, and things get pretty real, so enjoy.
Welcome everybody to the Base 2 Brew crew. This is Evan hosting this week. I am joined by Jacob, Nate, and Owen. Yeah, hey everybody. So we are just going to go into our discussion today. We are talking about the Smartmatic lawsuit against Fox News, and I'm going to let Owen give his take on it.
Yeah, well, Nate had proposed this, and basically, I listened to the daily podcast. Judging from what I learned in that podcast, the lawyer that they got won one of the largest defamation lawsuits, I think, ever, against ABC. So I think with that lawyer, they seem to have a pretty good shot. But the other thing is that from the facts of the case, it feels like, well, it seems like Fox News just straight up made up this story. I mean, Smartmatics does not have any. They don't do any of their business outside of. I think they did some.
LA County.
And,
LA County, I think,
yeah.
was where. Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, and Fox News is basically saying like they switched votes and made Biden and Harris win over Trump, which is like there's absolutely no evidence for, and it's like literally they just decided to write up a story and run with it, and Smartmatics is suing them because now all the other countries that they do business for elections with are basically saying, oh, you're too volatile, you're too hot, we don't want to work with you anymore, and they're losing all this revenue. I think they have a chance to win it though, because it feels like it's so clear.
Yeah. That's a huge amount of money. And I was also listening to that podcast earlier this morning, and I think they came up with that number. Smartmatics came up with that number based on how much they either were thinking or looking at how much they would lose in revenue throughout the next, I don't know how long it takes to rebuild their franchise or whatever. And so it's insane. So I guess here are the people that the lawsuit is against in Fox News. So it's Lou Dobbs, and I may get their last names wrong or their first names wrong. Maria Bartiromo and Janine Pirro, along with Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell. And so these are Rudy Giuliani and of course Sidney Powell. Those were two top people with Trump fighting against his impeachment and all of that. And so it basically seems like they just took the story and they ran with it, and they made a lot of money from it, and they also turned half of America on the other half of America, which is a very difficult thing, and it's just it's tough. It's I don't even know. It's mind blowing, right?
It is mind blowing. Honestly, I feel like it's also just part of like this larger, like we've known that this country is getting more and more divided. Honestly, I could care less whether or not Smartmatics makes any money off of this.
Right.
I really just want to see Fox News hurt.
Well,
I just want to watch the world burn.
Here's the thing. It's not even
News.
that. It's only right. And here's the other thing that's just absolutely fascinating. There is a news station out there. We're talking about it right now. That every single show talks about how the media is misinforming the people. And then something like this comes out. And it is literally, it's completely turned upside down, right?
Yeah, they're complete hypocrites. I mean, that is the business model of Fox. They've been doing this for years. Basically, they say everybody else is misleading the public. Everybody else gives you unfair story of the facts or whatever, and everybody else is spinning in their own political, and then they give you their own politically spun, like they're basically a wing.
It's not even news.
I mean, Jon Stewart used to make fun of them.
Right. Right. It's not even they don't even call it newscasts. They call it news shows because
Yeah.
it's literally that person's it's literally the anchor who is it's their opinion. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's their opinion. And that's the problem is when we get masses of people following one person's opinion or one or two people's opinion instead of
Yeah.
the real news following the actual news of what's going on.
And
Tucker
then you make your own.
Carlson, yeah, I mean, like he and Jesse Waters and Bill O'Reilly before he was pushed out, like these hosts can say truly anything, and it takes like an incredible amount of pushing for them to actually not even to be fact checked, but for these things to stick to what they're saying. So yeah, no, I think this is great that finally the bullshit that's being spewed out is having some level of accountability.
Yeah, and I think some of it is definitely the momentum swing of Biden in office now, and so now we're seeing people more readily force people into accountability in the open, because they know that they have that like people have their backs now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like, if you can't even argue in the same basis of reality, right? Then how could there possibly be a feasible truth, right?
Well, here's the thing, Evan, and this is the scary part about everything. What if Fox News? Now, this is completely like I'm thinking outside of the box, but this could happen, right? What if Fox News says, "Here is $2 billion. You're never allowed to talk about this again," and we drop it, and we never say that this was false. They lost $700 million, and the rest of what that lawsuit would do, but they're no longer able to talk about that. Do you think Smartmatic takes that? I don't think the point is the money here. I think the point is about their future as a business, right?
Setting a standard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean that's something we should be looking forward into this. And this is a great this is a great conversation to segue into what Evan is going to then introduce here later in the show. But I want to bring up this quote here that I found. It kind of relates to it, kind of not. But we'll see. It's from Albert Einstein. He says right here, the world as we created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. Half of America thinks a certain way because the president told them to think that way. And those are the same people who are saying, we are the free thinkers of the world. We lived in a screwed up world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the amount of cognitive dissonance that goes on there, that it's kind of incredible.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant in a way.
Well, can someone play devil's advocate right here? I mean, we're not right now. We are slightly biased. I think it's because of our generation, how we were brought up, and the schooling that we had. But can somebody come in here, and it could be any of you? Can somebody come in here and say, actually, what they did was right, or is that completely out of this world?
I think it really is out of
Fox.
Yeah, I want one of you to say, actually, no, they actually were allowed to say this because of our freedom of speech, right? Isn't that the argument?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't think that applies to a news organization with the amount of power.
Yeah.
That was,
I mean,
that's
you could even
similar,
say- Sorry, go
to
on.
Trump. It's similar to what Trump is trying to argue in his impeachment case,
Right.
where what he said was completely free speech, except you can't do that when you're in a place of power, because that can have dire consequences, like we saw. And for Fox, they are in a place of power where their words can incite much more than just a common person. I do always go back and forth. What is considered free speech? If at what point is it not allowed? Just determining on like if it hurts somebody, is that considered, is that allowable?
Yeah, I mean, Nate, you talk about someone playing devil's advocate, and I was trying to place myself in those shoes. But
Right.
when it comes to freedom of speech, I do think it's kind of hard to defend in this case, because the age-old example of what isn't protected by freedom of speech is like yelling fire in a crowded movie theater. That's basically what just happened. Like, it was a person in power or people who are in power, whose voices go to half of the country, just spewing nonsense, inciting violence, disregarding facts that we know, and I think it's hard to defend or play
Is
devil's
there
advocate in that case.
right? Is
Yeah, I
there
think
a
actually that's great. They yell
yeah.
fire.
Yeah. Well, is there also an argument that more liberal outlets maybe overplayed some portions of the news to get us to this point where, in order for us to sell news, we either have to be completely radical liberal or radical conservative,
It has to
and
be
then
sensationalized.
right. And so, is there a problem on both sides? Is there a problem with our media or no?
I would say yes, but I don't think it's the same problem on both sides.
Uh huh.
If anything, I mean, if ever since basically this is the classic argument in American politics, but 9/11 changed everything.
Right.
But
Yeah.
this was the old argument that Jon Stewart used, is that the news media after 9/11, basically like all these big TV news stations kind of built their model around that kind of where you literally need 24/7 coverage. There's something
Yeah.
new every minute.
Yeah.
Um,
There's no more evergreen stories. They're just breaking
Right.
news every minute.
It's
Yeah.
everything is breaking news. Everything is developing news. Everything is,
Hell, the election is just as big as the Super Bowl.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's because there's money involved, right? Because if you
Right.
get good ratings and then so I think the problem on the left is maybe that news that it gets sensationalized or sold in a kind of
Mhm.
capitalist way,
Mhm.
that it really shouldn't. But I think actually, honestly, what plagues the right in terms of conspiracy theories or fact checking or just politicized, I mean, the blurring the lines between opinion and fact, I think there is far deeper problem right. And I think you see that because of all of the fringe groups that get supported or that get tacit approval, or
Right.
things like the amount of far right alternate news media groups like Breitbart,
Yeah.
Infowars, or even just personal groups on Facebook, Parlor. I don't
Yeah.
think that exists in the same way on the left as it does on. And I think it's it comes out of Fox and talk radio. That is completely right dominated. There's no alternative to Rush Limbaugh, on the left, and
Yeah.
there never has been. And people point to like the Daily Show or like the late night shows, but I think what often gets pointed out as like the sort of alternate to the far right alternative forms of media like online forums or talk radio is that people the left's version is late night,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
late night TV is primarily comedy. I mean, it has to be true because it's not funny if it's true, but what they're doing is
Mhm.
jokes.
Right.
Although that being said, I did a study recently that said people tend to remember and retain facts better if they're told to them in comedic fashion. So that's why Daily Show watchers were always much more informed than Fox News watchers, like for years.
Well, and story. It involves story and not just somebody yelling at them saying that their right to bear arms and their freedom of speech is going away and we're turning into communists. There's
Right.
no story in that. But when
Yeah.
people do real journalism and they go out into the streets and they go out into the cities and they go out and talk to people and they say, what is going on to the area? How do you feel? And then they do real journalism and they tell the story and people are then informed correctly about the news happening in the area.
Right.
When was the last time a Fox News one of the higher ups gone out and actually did like an actual interview without ridiculing some far right or sorry far left liberal with who they could easily make fun of. I mean, that's
Exactly.
all they pick. They pick whatever they can to make fun of, right? That's not journalism.
The
Yeah.
only in-person or field reportings that you're seeing are from segments like Water's World or from interviews with the Kent University gun girl, and she's
It's
like
horrible
going
stuff.
to campus. It's my God, and it's so provocative for a reason, because the more reactions that they get, the more they can continue this narrative of conservative values being attacked, of being censored, and that's what I'm really interested in, because especially with this lawsuit, if Fox News is quote unquote censored, would that not give them more support from the conservative base, or would that cause more supporters to go even further to the right? Right, and we saw this when certain conservative voices were pushed off of social media platforms. Like, how is that going to reverberate then into the conservative base?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I heard I forget where, so maybe this isn't the most reputable thing, but I'm interested to see if you guys have like takes on the thought that like the GOP could potentially split, and like Trump will take his
Yes.
sect with him, and so that in and of itself, like that would kind of be the whole oil and water separation thing.
Right.
And
Which is
and I
dangerous
think
for the U.S.
yeah,
I mean, it poses a more more liberal party that could stay in power with sort of a split in the Republican Party, but
yeah,
in that split itself is going to allow people who think they want to have power, like some of those militias out there. It will literally give them empowerment to act on those urges that they have, and that could be really dangerous.
And we saw that happen on January
We
6th.
sure did.
Yeah, I mean, a thing that my family's been talking about for a while is that split, and whether or not we move beyond simply a two-party system.
Well, that's
And
interesting.
yeah, I mean, the only thing with that is I don't think it's possible just with how our government has been set up, and I do think there'll be factions that will start occurring, where within the Republican Party there's going to be basically two parties, but they'll still call themselves the one single party. But it's I think you're right, Nate, in that their influence in politics will probably just diminish because they won't have a single front. And that'll be very interesting to see as it develops.
So this is interesting. I know that these are two very different countries with very different political systems, but and Evan Quinter, you can back me up on this. There's a party in Germany called the AfD,
Oh yeah,
and it's the German Nationalist Party, and it's sort of the right-wing populist political party, and it is one of the most. Some people say it could be just on the cusp of being neo Nazis and stuff like that.
Jeez.
And this is a third party in a world leading country that has these views. And how far or how different is that from what we could potentially have here in the United States, right?
yeah. It's not just in Germany. I think you can see it too in France, in Hungary. It's this rise of like uber nationalism,
and it stems out of false news, fake stuff.
Right. Sure.
And I think that somebody else is taking my money, is taking my jobs, and that other people are ruining my life. And I think that will help us move into our next topic that Evan, you were talking about, which is, in short, conspiracy theories. And a lot of a lot of conspiracy theories are born out of governments and our lack of trust in governments, right?
Pause you before you do that. I gotta go, guys, but continue and have fun, guys.
Bye, Owen.
All right.
See
Bye.
ya.
See ya.
Oh, that's sad, because I feel like Owen would love this type of conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, he totally would.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point, Nate. I didn't even really think about that. Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's true of all conspiracy theories, but you're right. Such a large part of them are coming from distrust in government, and I'm been trying to think of like why people would fall so easily into some of these theories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you kind of hit on one of the major reasons is it's a mistrust in this organization and that's supposed to protect and to provide,
Mm-hmm.
and to find some sort of reasoning in that. But I'm not sure, honestly. I don't know why people fall so easily into these theories.
Part of it, I think, is using it as a scapegoat.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
And it's easy, right?
Yeah, it's so much
Scapegoats are
easier.
easy. It's the way out. It's so easy to blame someone else.
I think too, and I think that all four of us can kind of speak on this have because we went to school in a small rural area, which is typically a place where conspiracy theories take take more hold. And I think like we can speak to it because we've seen people that felt abandoned
Mm-hmm.
by the government. Exactly. So when somebody comes in with a scapegoat and says, not even that it was these people's fault, because oftentimes it's not. It's purely circumstantial and what you're born into. Um, but if some voice or savior comes in and says, "This is the reason why,"
Mm-hmm.
I'll play devil's advocate here, and that yeah, absolutely, I could totally understand why people would fall into that.
It's I think it's also a piece of our minds, the way that we are creative, the way that people can come up with stories and tell stories, and we've been doing it since we've been humans, right? We've been speaking stories, and a piece of that imagination, a piece of that conspiracy theory is attractive because you can talk to other people about it and you can imagine and you can continue to, and that's the problem. That's sort of the rabbit hole, right? You can jump
Mm.
down in. And if you, now that we have access to the internet, boy, does it do some awesome things for us in this world we live in. But man, if you want to jump into some really deep thinking, look up some conspiracy theories. And there are some people out there that literally almost write novels. It's almost science fiction like of some of the conspiracy theories that people have thought up. And it's fascinating. It's hard to believe, but if you read it, you can kind of think, oh, well, maybe.
Absolutely. Doing like doing some of the research for this episode and reading all these different types of conspiracy theories. Um, yeah, I mean, I will be totally honest. Like there were two of them that I don't believe in, but
Okay.
but because of the stories and the clues, I could absolutely see why someone could jump on that.
Could you give us
Ooh,
what
tell
you're talking
us.
about? Yeah, tell us, tell us, tell us.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so actually, then this would go great into this little game that I made for this episode. Um, so I'm calling it what's the theory? So I will say a phrase, and you guys have to try and figure out what the conspiracy theory is behind it.
Ooh,
Okay.
I like this.
It's a
Okay.
game show with the Brew Crew.
This is
I
our
wish we had buzzers.
this is our version
Oh,
of
yeah.
wait, don't tell me. There
Okay,
you
here we go. Here we go.
Okay, so the first one's gonna be pretty easy. Moon landing.
Oh, right.
Oh,
I think
yes.
Joe Rogan did a podcast on this,
Of course,
and
he
I
did.
think uh, he talked mostly about he said the moon landing was probably real, but the pictures and the images that they took from the moon were fake. And I think his response to that was something with um, uh, rays or like I can't even, I don't even know it, that there was no way that the picture could have been taken and then brought back down due to the technology that they had back then.
And of course because the Earth is flat, so
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
That too, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
When they took that like blue marble picture,
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading a book now about like capitalism and climate change,
Mm-hmm.
and there's really interesting passage about the change for environmentalism when it went from grassroots into the big green organizations that we know now, like Nature Conservancy and World Wildlife Fund. And it was that when everybody saw that first picture of our planet, the idea was that it was supposed to be this great unifying picture that we could all see this blue, beautiful marble that we all live on. But actually, it was a way for us to like disconnect ourselves from the planet, like because our viewpoint is now looking down at the Earth, not standing on its surface and looking up into the stars. And that's what they thought. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Okay. So the next one, it's pretty obvious from title, but I'm interested to see where you guys take this. It's the reptilian elite / Illuminati.
No, I feel like I've heard this before, but I can't place it.
Yeah, I've heard this like before as well.
Yes, Nate. Yeah, go on.
New World Order. Okay. No, so I was just wondering, that's like a group of elites that control everything in the world, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And that isn't it a triangle, or there are clues throughout different governments and stuff that show that it's real?
Yeah. I'll give that to you. Mr. Latour, did you have anything else to add?
Just that that one's a ridiculous one. It's like the birds as government.
The birds aren't real.
Oh yeah,
birds aren't real.
Is that the same one?
I love birds aren't real.
I just saw a poster for that randomly. I think it was like a month ago, just out in the town.
Now you see, this is actually important that you bring this one up, and the birds is so funny. But a piece of this, and I'm sorry I cheated at this game just now. I didn't cheat earlier, but just now. It brings up George Soros, and I can't believe it. But this guy, who he was, I guess, an investor in the subject to the conspiracy theories back in the 90s, he's come back up now, and that's what the biggest conspiracy theory things that are happening right now. They blame what's going on George Soros and like a cabal, right?
Yeah.
And so this is very relevant and in the mainstream news.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it is that type, exactly. It is that type of mistrust of anyone that is in a position of political power that like fucks with reality. Because I got into a fight with somebody who literally sent me a YouTube video saying that the Democratic Party was Satanist and like demon worshippers. Wild. But that's not the point. I tried to use Snopes.com, which is that fact-checking site.
Okay.
Right? And he said, we're going to end this conversation because you sent me a fact-checking site that has ties to George Soros.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah. And so I can't even trust this website. Now I can't even trust you.
Yep, that's the problem. That's the problem. Here's something. If you need to use this to give him credit for something, don't laugh right away. According to Wikipedia, a part of this New World Order is that some theorists believe that the Denver International Airport stands above an underground city which serves as the headquarters for the New World Order. I'm not joking.
Maybe that was my next one.
Dude, we should go out there.
Usually large size and distance from the city center. What?
Wait, okay,
that
Nate.
Sounds like a National Treasure movie. It writes
It
itself.
is. It is. Yeah.
Nate, so that was my next one. That's so funny. So I have an article pulled up for this. So the theory is that the Denver airport was built as the new base for the New World Order, which has ties to Nazism.
Right.
Oh, dude, like, brace yourselves. There's so much to this. It is theorized that the airport runways are built to resemble a swastika. Now, when you look at it from a photograph, they don't really.
Well, that doesn't matter as long as it's close.
Exactly. If you can if you really search for it, you can kind of see it.
If you squint.
Yeah,
I'm
if you-
looking at it right now.
do you see the swastika?
No.
You have to wear 3D
Actually,
3D
I
glasses.
do. Okay, I
Exactly.
kind of see it, but it's also okay. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of constellations. There's a line in the sky. No, there isn't a line in the sky. There's 20 stars that are just in a blob, and you drew the lines to make it look like a lion. That's what this looks like.
Vicious and everybody, Nate Ulrich is against constellations.
I
You heard
am
it
not.
here
My
first.
dad's an astronomer. But I do believe that some of those constellations are a little far fetched. You have to believe me on that.
Oh,
You
yeah,
have to
for
believe me
sure.
on that.
Oh my god, yeah, absolutely. Okay, wait. I want to go back to Denver because there's so much here. People have found strange markings on the building, which are believed to be connected to the New World Order. But in reality, these markings are just related to the Navajo language and periodic table of elements. So, of course, there's some feelings of anti-indigenous culture there.
And elements, chemistry, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. A strange take on that, but okay. Okay, so there's this giant blue horse sculpture in front of the airport, and
Mhm.
the theory is that this is fueled by like sinister evil because its eyes glow red. But the artist said that was just to honor the wild spirit of the American West. But here's what's crazy. Before the horse statue could be built, it actually fell and killed the artist.
Well, that's interesting.
Now that's interesting. Yeah.
That's just poor artistry, or just a really bad coincidence.
I think it's just there's also a time capsule in the Denver airport, and what does it say? I think it literally says like built by the new world industry or something. And so
Wow.
people are like, whoa, it says New World and it's a time capsule.
This
yeah.
is interesting.
And then I
What's
think-
the explanation for that one?
Yeah, what is it? It just linked? It makes sense?
Yeah, I guess so. It's supposed to be opened in 2084. Yeah, and apparently it bears symbols to the Freemasons, which
Okay.
I am a Malay, which is the young man version of the Freemasons. So I take offense to that, but whatever. That's cool. Oh yeah, I don't know if I ever told you guys, but I guess I am part of a secret society now. So there you go.
Really?
Yep.
So you mentioned Freemasonry, and so here, according to Wikipedia, again, I'll give some definitions. It says that conspiracy theories concerning the Freemasons have proliferated since the 18th century, so like a long time ago. And then the theorists have alleged that Freemasons control large parts of the economies or judiciaries of a number of countries and have alleged Masonic involvement in events surrounding the sinking of the Titanic and the crimes of Jack the Ripper. Notable among theorists have been American investor Samuel Morse, who in 1835 published a book of his own conspiracy theories. Freemason conspiracy theories have also been linked to certain anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. So yeah, you hit the note on a lot of those, and that's interesting that they would take some of the most journalistic events at the time, Titanic and Jack the Ripper, and turn them into conspiracy theories. Just like today, what are the most journalistic events that are turned into conspiracy theories? Every single thing we've talked about.
The election, COVID.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the Denver airport. I'm sure it was
The
big
Denver
news back
airport.
then.
Ooh, COVID vaccine, which I've actually been, well, my coworkers, her and I have had many talks about that.
Uh-huh. Oh, this is fascinating. Yeah.
Just that it's both a distrust and also a conspiracy theory that our government is purposely using these shots to, well, one is the mini tracker, the microchip,
Right.
Right.
Because microchips are liquid.
and then the
There's
other.
no other way that people could track us.
Facebook.
If only there is something that we all logged into that was on a server that anybody could get into.
Oh, are you talking about Snapchat Maps?
Yeah.
Jeez.
They want to
Yeah, that
track
was
us.
bad.
Meanwhile, I'm dropping pins literally every 5 steps. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to track you, 50-year-old Karen. We're interested in what you do. Sorry, I did not mean to be mean there. I didn't mean to be mean there. I take that back. There are a
too
lot of
late.
nice people out
It's
there.
too late.
It is too late.
And then the other one is that it's just a test where we're guinea pigs for similar to like what happened with the Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh,
With
well, so that's different though. That was wrong in many ways. But here's
Yes.
my problem with this. Why would the government get rid of its source of income? Remember, the government makes money off of taxes. If the government kills its people, it doesn't make money. How
Yeah.
easy is it to think that way?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that, like, with a lot of these conspiracy theories, it's a very okay, Jacob, Nate, my writers, what's that thing where like you are the center of the story? What is that called?
Ethnocentrism.
Ethnocentrism. Thank you so much. It's that like you are the center of this plot and you are so important that the government wants to track you, that they want to kill you.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's not
You are
ethnocentrism.
Mm.
Some sort of centrism. Sorry.
You are the Tom Cruise of this story.
That's interesting.
I
People
am the
feel
tall
like
top-
they are that important.
Sure.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess that's good for
Yes.
them.
Jacob, yes.
Yes. Huh. That's
thing-
incredible.
The other thing is like I've been trying to think of like if there's a formula that that a conspiracy theory needs to follow, because like we've been saying, like a lot of these kind of follow either a sensational event
Uh-huh.
and it has a distrust in either a government or some sort of authority figure. And I think the other one, and this is because Jacob brought up the COVID mistrust, is that it has to have also some small slither of truth to it, because you can see how people would be wary of vaccines, and that may have been rushed or may have been tampered by government oversight, especially after we've seen the mistrustment of the healthcare industry, especially for people in different communities, especially for people of color. You know, these are real lived experiences. So I think these conspiracy theories can grip into these past truths and these half truths, and that's where they get a lot of their power from.
Yeah, they need to be able to grasp onto something as minor as it may be.
Yeah, you're totally right. Like the best lies are ones that are weaved with truth.
Yeah.
Well. It was just mind-boggling.
Well, so here I looked up something. Who knows if this is true or not? But there's a graph, and I know this is a podcast; you can't see it, so I'll try to explain this here real easily. So the graph shows it's a bar graph, and the title of the graph is the number of people who can take part in a conspiracy before it unravels. Fascinating stuff, right? So the maximum, 5 years, 2,531 people. For for 100 years, it drops all the way down to 125. Now, maybe that doesn't make sense, but they said for the maximum number of people who could be involved in a generic conspiracy before it unraveled, for a conspiracy to take 5 years, he says no more than 2,521 people can partake in it. Now, does that make sense?
No.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
Well, okay. Here's my question though. Maybe that is where, especially Trump, kept his base going, right? Because it seemed like every day there was a new issue, there was a new topic, there was a new story, and so maybe that's why so many more people were able to believe in this, because the conspiracy theory didn't stay around as long. There was something new.
Well, that was kind of a big part of his strategy in terms of rhetoric in general, where it's like if something comes out about him that is not going to be good for his career, it's like, oh wait, look over there. Don't look at the
Yep.
man behind the curtain. It's
Yep,
all
yep, yep.
about the shifting the focus elsewhere.
Manipulation.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
You said 2,000 people? That's wild. That seems so low to me.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it was just an article I found somewhere with a graph. I tried to see how it could work, but it must have some sort of. And then maybe you extrapolate that right to 7 billion people, or even smaller than that, to 300 million in the United States, right? Something like that.
I have one conspiracy theory that just makes me upset,
Okay.
and it's the flat earthers.
Uh-huh.
It's one that still doesn't make sense to me because it's been repeatedly proven to be wrong, but even by like people within their own conspiracy theory, accidentally, but it still persists.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
can
know
you
why.
can you tell me out of all the conspiracy theories, many of them can be very detrimental to specific peoples. It can be very detrimental to the earth. Does the flat earth movement pose any threat to anyone other than their own self?
Yes.
It's yeah, it peeves me because it's idiotic. That's why.
Right. But in the scale, in the broad spectrum of conspiracy theories, there are so many that endanger people and actually are lethal and
Yes.
can
Yeah.
go make
QAnon.
this world exactly. And so can we just let the people who think the earth is flat, let them think the earth is flat?
No. And I
No,
don't like it.
no.
I mean,
no.
there's a point to it's not necessarily something that harms anyone in relation to conspiracy theories that are like vaccines cause autism or whatever. But
Right.
we do need to make sure that we're not letting idiocy just kind of marinate.
That's going to
among
happen
us.
either way. Jacob,
Yeah,
that's going to happen either way.
But like it's always going to be there, but it's something we need to work to minimize as much as possible, you know?
Huh, Nate's seeming a little defensive about this flat earther
Yeah.
stuff.
Listen, hear me out, guys. Hear me out.
Hear me out. It's definitely flat. How have we not? How is the ocean flat then? Huh?
This is no. I truly believe that this is actually one of the most
Comical?
dangerous. No.
Dangerous.
Dangerous.
Really? You think
Yeah.
it's the most dangerous?
No. I don't think it's the most dangerous. There are plenty of far more immediate and far more physically dangerous conspiracy theories. And we saw this like with QAnon, and we saw this like with
Right.
the
Right.
What makes this one so dangerous is that it literally is questioning science. It
Sure.
is questioning the basis of our reality and our
But
planet.
you can argue that some of the most influential scientists over time did the very same thing. Now
Sure.
they may not have argued something that has time and time again proved something, such as the Earth. We've proved it's round over and over again. But the very same type of thinking is literally written in our textbooks, in our high school science textbooks, and it's what we learn.
Sure. But it's that this is the antithesis to that.
Right.
It is not changing your mind based on continual pure revision and experimentation. It is changing your mind because you're proven wrong and you need to flip to something else.
Right.
You need to jump even further. You know.
Right.
It's the idea of, you know, the constant, okay, these scientists said this thing, and then the other person says, well, I saw someone on Facebook that I went to high school with share this one article from a website I don't know. So I'm going to trust them instead. It's that thinking that kind of permeates. And I think to that end, social media has definitely not helped the cause of minimizing these kind of dumb theories.
Well, can I take a stance here on the same sort of thing, just on the other side of it? So this is no longer flat Earth, but I'm looking at a conspiracy theory that many people kind of can see some belief in, and that is, unfortunately, the cure to cancer. So hear me out here for a second. The conspiracy says and I'm shortening it up, but it basically says there is a cure for all of these cancers. And the reason that the cure isn't out there is because it makes billions and billions of dollars for the healthcare systems out there, and it does make billions and billions of dollars.
Mm.
And so here's one side of a conspiracy that is kind of easy to think that that could be very true because of the amount of revenue that cancer brings in. What are your ideas on that?
Well, it fits our model for conspiracy theory, right? It shows a mistrust in an authority figure, which is science and medicine. It hits on a rational half truth, which that the medical care system is going to gain some sort of some sort of gain out of this, and it hits upon a sensational event, which is cancer.
Right.
So absolutely, people could fall for it. Yeah.
So do you believe? And then I want to hear all of your answers. Do you actually think, like, is this a conspiracy that you think that there are cures, definite cures for all different types of cancer?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
It's kind of similar reasoning that you could use for so many of these, but
absolutely,
you're telling me that of all of the doctors that would come into contact with a theoretical cure for cancer that nobody is releasing, none of them are going to speak out.
You're so right.
There's no slip up anywhere. Because like with all the leaks we see, like just in any industry, whether it's the government or like set photos from a Marvel movie, you will always find out. Like no information is safe.
Jacob, I think that's a really good point. Like it's giving far too much credit to how people think how like organized these industries are. Yeah.
We're all just people just struggling through life.
Right. Well. So here's just some numbers. Last year, and this is outdated. This is 2018. It said last year the cancer industry valued at $100 billion and is predicated to reach 147 billion in sales. And I hate that they use this, but they use the word sales.
Yeah.
In 2018. So this is the problem: is when you add words like sales and you add business lingo into people's lives. That's a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And think of the people that are probably incredibly affected right now. Either they or someone close to them is going through a cancer bout right now. And of course, this situation is horrific and painful to go through. And so when you're going through something as emotionally intensive as this, and someone comes along with the partially plausible theory that the healthcare industry is just profiting off of your misery, yeah, absolutely. I could see how someone could fall for that.
Right.
Yeah, like we were talking before about a scapegoat. It's so much easier to blame just a medical field and the scientific field when it's nobody's fault that.
Well, I don't think the blame is on the scientific medical field. I think the blame is on the government holding back from allowing the scientific and medical field, holding back knowledge, which of course that's sort of the ludicrous thing, right? But I think most of it is coming from the government, right?
Can you expand on that a little bit?
So right now it's very different. Right now with COVID, a lot of mistrust in the sciences, because you have to mistrust the science in order to not believe that COVID is real, right? That's the only explanation for any of it. You have to mistrust the scientists who are saying what it is. But before COVID, I think there still was enough trust in sciences. I think there was less trust in government. And so what I'm trying to say here is, at least for this cancer, to talk about cancer and how much money it makes, that it is actually the government who is safe holding or holding back on a known cure because it makes so much money and the money from the cancer chemotherapy and all of those hospital bills and stuff make so much money, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. It's not the mistrust in the science, it's a mistrust in the government who's holding back from them, right?
Do you think people are making that distinction between cancer researchers and government?
I'm not sure. I don't know enough about that at all, and I don't know too many people who are conspiracy theorists, and so maybe I should get out of my house more. But it's COVID, so I don't need to meet new people now. But I don't know. It's tough, and the only way to really understand some of these things is if you talk to people, like a real journalist, like real information coming from somebody who believes something. And there's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube, so you can absolutely go and look for yourself. But
so
yeah.
here's my I guess kind of final and maybe like closing question on this.
Okay.
Is then how do you talk to someone who believes in conspiracy theories and try to get them to see what they're believing in is a conspiracy? Like, how do you then get someone who doesn't believe in your same set of reality? How do we get on the same page?
I think the first step is to not be incredulous about it, like we have been for most of this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You
Yes.
gotta
Yeah.
speak in an not understanding, but in a rational, like you're willing to listen. But you also need to just present things as facts or ideas instead of just being like, dude, come on. Do you really think it, you gotta talk to them like a person?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a couple things, but I want to hear what Jacob Latour has to say before I throw in what I have to think.
Yeah, well, I have talked to people that have these theories. I just state my opinion pretty matter of factly. What I have kind of realized, and I think Evan, you've talked about this a lot, is people that have these conspiracy theories, their opinions generally will not change from simple discussion.
Yeah.
And it's something that has to be brought up over and over again to shift someone's opinion away from what they believe. And it's not easy. I mean, one of my friends, he recently posted some things on Facebook that were borderline on conspiracy theories, and ended up just getting railed on by my friends, and still didn't back down about what he believed. And we've had multiple discussions with him, and when we talk to him in person, he's much more a lot less defensive, and he's like, yeah, it's just no. But when he's like on social media, he can hide behind the computer and just fight back fervently and just continue these conspiracy theories and lies. And it's just a long process of trying to change a person's perception of what is true.
But you know what? I bet it means a lot more because it's coming from you, who is someone that has a personal relationship with him, and also because you're spending the time to talk about that.
Well,
And
can I push you back on that though a little bit, Evan?
Sure.
I agree. Like that, yeah, completely. That would make sense because that makes sense for a lot of things, especially with that relationship component. But the one thing that I think, and I can be very wrong, but the one thing I think that is important to understand is that you aren't as influential as the person who told the conspiracy to that other person. For instance, when I'm talking, I am not as influential as Tucker Carlson. So
Really?
what I'm saying is, in order to change someone's mind, there's a couple of things. One is that that person has to be open to thinking and being able to change their mind, which is a very difficult thing to do as a person who's hard on something, right? And two, they have to have done their research on both sides, and they have to have that other person who's telling the opposite of the conspiracy theory to be just as influential to change their mind. So I know there's a segment out there, I forget who does it. He's a conservative. He says he does these change my mind things. And it never happens that somebody can change his mind because no one, he is the dominant figure in that. And no one is as influential as he is because he has that following, right?
Sure.
And so that's why I push back on you saying, well, you have a relationship with him. You can talk to him on a different level because you know him. Well, this is the problem, was we're seeing families split between being Democratic and being Republican. And it doesn't matter how much that relationship is strong. No one's changing because they both have the same level of influence on each other.
That's interesting, Nate, because I totally disagree with you. That's funny. Do you really think that a news host and a news broadcaster has more of an influence?
Absolutely, no doubt.
Than someone in your family, someone that
absolutely.
You know.
That's how
our
we're
entire
here today.
generation, our entire generation, almost our age, whose parents are Republicans. The families are split. Neither one is able to get their point across because they are so intrigued and so dedicated to their side of the news.
But
that's my stance on it, right? I can't get a Trump, a family member who believes in Trump and who thinks who's a godsend. I can't change their mind, even though I'm their uncle or not uncle. I'm their cousin.
Why not?
Because I don't have as much influence. I don't have as much.
Yeah.
I'm not as well spoken. I don't have people behind me who support my ideas the same way, and I can't show that I have those people behind me who support my ideas.
But that newscaster doesn't know your family member either.
That's true.
That is true, but they still have that influence.
It's like a fireside chat. You don't know who is it, JFK who did it? You weren't related. Was it JFK?
Yeah. No, it was Roosevelt.
Roosevelt. Right. You weren't related to Roosevelt, but he was able to connect with you on a personal level, just as what Fox News does. They are able to connect to the family on a personal level. That host, that anchor on Fox News, has more of a relationship in that discussion than you do if you think something differently.
Yeah, Nate, but what is your resolution to that? Because you're basing that off of someone who is going to go and research both sides. I mean, we are what we listen to and we are what we read. And so this is not shade to anyone, because I think it's a lot to ask of someone to be.
I cut out.
I figured.
What happened?
I think it's a lot. It's this huge expectation to expect people to constantly be researching both sides.
That's true. Yep.
Right. So how would you combat? And I hate to use the word combat because I'm trying to find ways to be less combative and to be less confrontational. But if you have this incredibly influential talk show host, would giving the flip of that, which would just be like a liberal talk show host, would that be as effective? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think that's the problem, is there's no immediate and 100% solution to this. And we can see that because there's such a divide. If there were a solution to what you're saying right now, as easy as just saying, here's somebody, look at somebody else, listen to somebody else, we wouldn't have this same kind of divide, and we wouldn't have these same kind of conspiracy theories that just kind of run rampant. If there was something as easy as that. But you also said, what is something that you could do? And I think, and who knows if this works or not, but what I think is, I acknowledge what they said, and I acknowledge that they have listened to it, and I'm not going to be demeaning towards them unless, of course, they're being racist or something.
Sure.
I acknowledge what they said, and I come back with, that's interesting. I've been listening to this person. How about we swap? How about you listen to this person? I listen to this person. Now, that's not going to work, but it's encouraging to look at the other side at least, right?
But there's an issue with that too, because because then you're putting conspiracy theories and you're putting like Fox News rumors on the same level as sensationalized liberal journalism.
So I was just gonna say, I think this kind of loops around to how we started this podcast. So Evan, you're asking how do we quote unquote combat the rise of these conspiracy theories? I think part of it starts with things like the defamation lawsuit.
Yes.
Because even though there's obviously going to be, and currently is, a lot of pushback of like, oh, this is censorship and everything like that. If this lawsuit succeeds, then that sets the precedent that kind of spewing of like lies and nonsense is not okay, and you will lose money because of that. And so it might not be immediate, but it'll at least start the trend of lessening the influence that those kinds of messages have.
Absolutely.
Maybe because what has a president with 2 impeachments still has hundreds of millions of supporters?
Yeah.
Did anyone listen to the Marjorie Green?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And she literally said, "This is still Trump's party."
Yeah.
Yes.
It's scary.
It's wild.
It's scary. And you know what?
It isn't, but there are people who think that it is.
Right. Yeah, I'm so happy that we talked about this and that it's so relevant, right? It's so relevant. I mean, that confirmation or that letting go of committee roles or whatever happened with that, who's it, a senator?
Representative, maybe?
Representative?
Yep.
That literally just happened like 2 days ago, right? Yesterday or something. And that was for part of the insurrection and stuff like that, which was fueled by conspiracy theories. It's literally happening in this moment. Well, all I can say, Evan, is that I completely appreciate that approach. And I completely understand that approach of connecting with somebody who you have a relationship with, I can see how that can work. I have my own misconceptions or I have my own problems with that just based on events that I've experienced and seen families torn apart because of anchors that are very influential, right?
Sure. I see it in my family too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, and I have no misgivings that this weighs maybe a little bit naive too, right? Because I think your ways also has a lot of merit to it too, right? So I don't think there's just one answer either.
Right. Oh yeah, there's multiple truths. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow.
This was good though. Yeah, that was we got into it.
Can we get a last call here?
Yeah.
We do. Yeah.
Anybody have something happy to talk about?
Wait, okay, this is like my final conspiracy thing, and it's a fun one. This is like
okay.
This is like a bonus question.
An uplifting last call.
Yeah.
I like that.
Can anyone tell me what 90s sitcom was the vehicle for the Illuminati?
What? 90s sitcom?
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think of is Seinfeld.
Nope.
Yeah, Seinfeld or Full House. Full House was in the 90s. Or Friends. Those are the only shows I know, right?
Those are all really good guesses. However, they're all false. The answer was Saved by the Bell.
Oh, that was going to be my next guess.
Saved by the Bell. Huh.
I just like saw that and I just thought it was the funniest thing.
So that was actually the first season came out in 89, so you tricked us a little bit.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, you know.
It was a no-win situation.
I'm just trying to twist the truth there. Yeah.
I love it. You can actually watch that for free on Amazon Prime if you do have Amazon Prime. So if you want to figure out that connection there for our listeners out there, go watch Saved by the Bell. You can let us know if you can see the connection.
Or if
It's all
Amazon
on-
wants to sponsor us.
Oh, I was going to say that, but I don't want Amazon to sponsor us.
Yeah, true.
Little hint. It's all Mario Lopez.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh,
Wow,
that's
that
funny.
was a solid conversation. I'm very
Yeah.
happy and excited that we were able to actually follow through and dig deeper into some of those conspiracy. Thank you, Evan, so much for bringing up such a interesting topic to talk about this week.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah, that was great.
thank you guys for being here. That was so much fun to like actually get to talk about this with someone. Yeah.
Well, at least for last call, I'm not sure if you guys listened to the most recent episode, but in the last call, we sort of wrap it up old style brew crew. We ended on a certain note that is, what are we drinking? What are we doing fun this week? And we try to wrap it up with 10 minutes. So let's give it a good old last call here. Nice reference to a bar. And Evan Quinter, give us something. What are you doing this week? What did you do last week? What was something fun that happened? And we'll keep the ball rolling.
God knows. I this is a good and a bad one. I rejoined Scruff, which is fun.
Oh.
I'm not sure what that is.
Scruff is a gay dating app primarily for men with some sort of hair,
Facial hair, or any hair.
all body hair. Oh yeah, or
Wow, okay.
or their fans. So it's and or both. So
Wow.
oh, also I
Proud
moved.
of you.
Sorry,
That's right. Tell it.
Yeah.
That's probably the more important one. Yeah.
No.
No, I moved to the Capitol area. If anyone knows where that is, I am on.
Are you
Which
sure
is
you
why-
want to dox yourself like this?
Oh
Yeah.
yes. You,
My address is the White House.
we can just bleep that in post.
Yeah, I'll yeah.
Thanks, Jacob.
That's
no,
awesome, though. We're excited for you.
This is a really so much better place than where I was living before. So
That's
I'm
good.
really happy. Yeah.
So Evan threw me into the rapid response team for the Potomac River.
Oh yeah, I
today.
recommend.
Yeah, he was kind of like tossed me in there. And I had a conversation with the lead on that. And
Wow.
I actually don't know what she even asked me to do. So that'll be fun.
Wait. What did she ask you to do? Now I'm interested.
I actually don't know. That's why I truly I'm being serious.
Starting off strong, Jacob. Starting off strong.
Yeah, so it's just a little volunteer thing I'm doing on the side.
That's awesome.
And then the other thing is I've been doing a ton of recipe creation for new meads. And so one of the ones I'm really interested in making is, it's going to be long, but it's well, one is a coffee mead, but the other one is like a coffee chocolate raspberry blackberry mead.
Whoa,
Wow.
Wow.
that sounds
but-
awesome.
But the fun thing is I'm trying to collaborate with other local businesses. So there's a coffee business that I'm working with now, which is only like 10 or 15 minutes away from me. And then chocolate shop, which is a 2-minute walk from me. That's ranked like one of the 10 best chocolatiers in the entire world.
Oh my god.
Wow.
So I'm trying to incorporate those two in together. And I think that'd be really fun, but don't know how it'll turn out. But
That's
it's
awesome, dude.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
Wow.
Well,
That's
if you ever need any tasters, you just let us know.
That's right. That's right.
Oh yeah, I'll totally let you.
That's awesome.
Nate, what about you?
Yeah, so mine's not as great as tasting chocolate or being on Scruff, but So this week it felt really real for my side gig video business that I have. So my business partner and I, we filed for a partnership for tax season, and we purchased our business and liability insurance. So our little video production company is a real company out there, and it is no longer just two guys with cameras,
Nice.
taking video and editing. So it's real. It's a huge milestone, and we just spent all of our earnings from last year on these couple of things. But big things are coming from us later in the future.
Oh my God, Nate, that's so exciting!
Congratulations!
That's super cool. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I guess for me, I mean, I do have new job stuff coming up. I will get too into specifics there, but I got an offer from one place, and I'm also interviewing at another place.
Yes, I love this.
So
that is awesome.
The timing could not be worse, but it's a good problem to have. At
sure
least.
is.
Yeah. But so that's good. But I guess the main thing is just today, and I guess this is also a promo for a future bonus episode. WandaVision is such a good show, man. It's like the MCU is truly a blessing. We don't deserve it. Like everything is so good, and WandaVision is so good. And it's like the acting and the writing and the effects. It's all great, and I'm excited. At some point, whenever the show's over, we're planning on having another bonus podcast where we review it and talk about it and what we liked, what we didn't like, and what we want to see from the next show, and stuff like that. So that's basically what I've been thinking about all today, because the episode 5 just came out today, and it's mind blowing.
Wow.
So
I don't want to end on a bad note here, Jacob, but to wrap us back into the conspiracy theories.
Oh boy.
Some other folks out there might argue that the comics and the and Marvel is actually just a piece of the military industrial complex and patriotism, and some folks believe that is just propaganda to get people to go into the military. So I didn't mean to bring us back onto that note, but
I could see that if it's like, because I mean that kind of was the point of the Captain America comics in the 40s,
right?
But like, you watch Captain America, Winter Soldier, or Civil War, and tell me that those are pro-military movies.
Right. Well, okay, and so this brings up another one. I forget what the show's called. I think it's called The Boys on Amazon Prime. You have to watch that, and it's a great show. And what it does is it shows that some of these superheroes in that show, they live behind a facade, and they're actually horrible people. Yeah. You got to watch that show and watch them in tandem. Watch WandaVision and watch The Boys in tandem, and you can see two totally different writers portray superheroes in a completely different way. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Good job. I've wanted to watch The Boys.
Go for it. It's completely different than what you would expect. Awesome. Dude, that was an awesome last call. Yeah.
I am so happy to hear that everyone is just has something really positive going on right now, and that everyone is just, I don't know, that like made me really happy. So yeah, great last call, everyone.
Cool.
Yeah, that really was.
All right. Wrap us up, Evan.
Signing out for this week is myself, Evan. This is the Base 2 Brew Crew. Next week, we will be hosted by Jacob Lacour. And until next time, fellas.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.